Good morning and welcome to today's Kids Talk. My name's Dave and today we're going to be talking about the parable of the lost sheep. Now, just talking about things that are lost, I'm dreadful at keeping things close at hand, so I'm forever losing my car keys, my wallet, my phone. And when you're trying to run out of work at 7:15 in the morning, that is not a good place to be in. So one of the things I've done recently is I've kept what I call a memory box. So all the things that I've collected over my life that mean something to me, to save them getting lost, I've put them in a big plastic box. So when I was thinking about today's talk, I was having a wee rummage through the box and I came across quite a few different items. So for example, there's a picture from 2002 of my mum's 50th birthday party. A nice family photographs. That's a great memory of the family at that point, of all being together. There is report cards from school, some good, some bad. There are some birthday cards from special birthdays, like my 40th and my 21st, and there's other bits and pieces. But there was something missing from the box, so I thought I'd just quickly tell you the story about a time in my life when I lost something quite precious to me. So I'm going to take you back to 1988. I was 9 years old, coming up for 10. My brother and I were going to a church kids and young people's camp at a church hall in Arbroath, which is a coastal town just up in the northeast of Scotland. Before we went to that camp, the leader, called Nessie, not to be confused with the Loch Ness Monster, she gave us a list of items to take in our suitcases. Things like a sleeping bag, a torch, shorts and t-shirts and socks, toiletries. But the one thing that caught my eye was the last thing on the list. And the last thing on the list was, it said, if you would like to take your favourite toy. So I said to my mum and dad right away, can I take my favourite toy? Mum said, well, maybe you could. We need to have a wee think about that. But my dad said, without even a moment of hesitation, no. You're not taking your favourite toy. You know what that toy means to you. You could lose it, you could damage it. Don't take your favourite toy. So what happened next was, I was a wee bit naughty, and I don't recommend this to any of the children whatsoever. But for the next couple of days, I badgered and prodded and hounded my mum and dad. So much so that the day before the camp, they eventually both just say, oh, for goodness sake, David, just take it. Take your favourite toy. But my dad said, if you take it, don't lose it, don't damage it. Bring it back safe and sound. So I packed my favourite toy into the suitcase, went to the camp, had an amazing 7 days. There was football and rounders and kids' talks and singing and music and walks on the beach and all sorts of things. Brilliant week. Came back the following Saturday evening, unpacked all my things out the suitcase, gave a big laundry bag to my mum, because that's what mums do, and went to bed. Went to sleep within a few minutes. But the next morning I woke up with fear and alarm in my head. I could not remember unpacking my favourite toy from my suitcase. So I rechecked the suitcase, checked under my bed, checked my drawers, my cupboards. Nothing. I had lost my favourite toy. So I began to be a bit tearful and upset, and I started to worry, and I thought I'd better go and break the bad news to my mum and dad. So I went to their bedroom door early Sunday morning, chapped it, went in, and hands up, I said, look, I've lost my favourite toy. And surprise, surprise, my dad got a bit cross. And he said, I knew this would happen to you. I knew you would lose it. Right, but after a few minutes or so, he calmed down and he said, look, David, don't worry about it. I will see if I can sort it. Just don't worry. So true to his word, on the Monday morning, he phoned the church centre in Arbroath, spoke to the lady in charge, and he said to her, have you found any lost property from the children who were at the camp? And she said, "No, sir. We've done a big clean of the church hall, the dormitories, the kitchen and the dining area. Nothing has been left behind. All the children, all the leaders have taken everything away with them." My dad said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yes." So he gave me the bad news. I was devastated. I had thought they would have found it. So I was crying again. I was upset. Remember, I was only 9 coming up for 10. I lost my favourite toy. But my dad, being persistent, he was a persistent man, he decided to phone the church hall every day for 2 whole weeks. Every morning he would phone this poor lady at the church to ask if she'd found the lost toy. Every day she would say the same message: "No, sir, we've not found the lost toy." But out the blue, 3 weeks later, she phoned him to say one of the cleaners has been cleaning the very top of a high cupboard, really high up, and she's found a lost toy. She described it to him. "Is this your son's?" He said, "Yes." Brilliant news. "We don't know how it's got there, but it was found." So he told me the good news. I was so happy and so elated. 3 days later, I was out the back playing football with my pals, and he says, "David, come quick, come up to your bedroom. There's something lying on the bed pillow for you that's arrived." So when I went up the stairs, I went to my bedroom, onto the bed, and on the bed pillow was this package, which is a jiffy bag. And inside the package was, and is, let's be careful for a second, this little guy here. So this little guy is called Benny. And the reason he's so precious to me, and the reason why my dad says don't take him in the first place, is because when I was born on the 6th of July 1978, my dad nipped out of the hospital on that day, and he went to a toy shop and he bought me Benny, with the intention, hopefully, that I would keep Benny for the duration of my lifetime. So that's why he's so precious. Now, like his owner, my beard's going grey over the years, and I've lost my hair. And like me, Benny's also feeling his age just a wee bit. So just above his leg here, just at his waistline, he's losing some stuffing, and then at his neck as well, he's lost some stuffing, and his fur's grown all craggy and old. But the good news is, he was found, and he's still here. So let's put him down for a minute, and let's talk about the parable of the lost sheep. So Luke chapter 15, Jesus is telling a group of people about the parable of the lost sheep, and what he says in that passage is, suppose you had 100 sheep. So let's say you were a shepherd, you had 100 sheep, they're all sitting in their field, all happy, but one day one goes off, it wanders off out the field and away into the wilderness. So what would you do about that? And what the story tells us is that person, the shepherd, he would leave the 99 that are safe, that are well, in the field, and that he would go out into the wilderness to try and find that lost sheep. And when he finds that lost sheep, he would be delighted. He'd be so grateful to find it. And when he found the sheep, the lost sheep, he'd pop that one sheep on his shoulders, over his shoulders, give him a co-carry, as we used to call it when we were kids. He would bring the sheep home, and he would celebrate that news, and he would tell others about it. So what Jesus is trying to tell us in this story is 2 things, I believe. Number 1 is, for all the people in our communities, our schools, our workplaces that don't know Jesus, they've never heard about him, they've never connected with him at all, Jesus delights in going out there, leaving the 99, going out there to find the lost, to find them so that they can connect with him and they can give their lives to him. But the second thing I think he's talking about in that story as well is, for folks perhaps like ourselves that are watching this video, who do have a relationship with God, who do follow Jesus, but sometimes in difficult circumstances we get a little bit lost. And what do I mean by that? Well, perhaps sometimes not reading your Bible, maybe not talking to God through prayer, or maybe even sometimes maybe saying, well, I'll not watch online church today, I'll maybe just go and do something else instead. So that story also applies to all of those people who momentarily get lost for a while, whether that's for a day or two, whether it's like 3 weeks like Benny, whether it may even be a year or 2 years or 3 years. Jesus delights in finding the lost, regardless of whether that means you've never found him before or you have found him but you've momentarily wandered off into the wilderness. And how brilliant a message is that? Now there's 7.8 billion people on this planet, and let's just say all 7.8 billion people had given their lives to Jesus. They made a connection with him and were living a daily walk with him. But one person hadn't. And let's just say for a moment that person was you, or that person was I. How amazing is that message? That Jesus, knowing that the 7.8 billion are saved, he would momentarily leave those people just for moments to come and find you, and that he would constantly try and track you down until you decide to follow him. Jesus is interested in you. Always remember that. Thanks for listening. Bye.